It began with silence. Not the calm kind, the dangerous kind. The kind that fills the room when a lie has finally been cornered and there's nowhere left to hide. The cameras were rolling, the air was thick, and Tamar Braxton's voice cut through the tension like glass. "You said that?" she shouted. Across from her, Toni Braxton sat perfectly still, pretending not to flinch. Her jaw tightened, her eyes shifted, and for the first time in years, the so-called classy sister looked caught. For too long, the world had seen Toni Braxton as the calm one, the unbothered one, the queen of the Braxtons. But that night, the mask slipped, and what we saw wasn't a queen. It was a woman cornered by her own words. The audience didn't see the betrayal right away, but Tamar felt it deep in her chest. Because this wasn't just another argument between sisters, this was about trust, about manipulation, about one lie that shattered everything. It all started when Toni Braxton allegedly suggested something innocent, or so she made it seem. She told Tamar to bring Ashley onto her show. Let her tell her story, she'd said. But when Tamar followed through, chaos erupted. Suddenly, Toni changed her tune. She denied ever saying it, and worse, she allegedly teamed up with the other sisters to send Tamar a cease and desist. Imagine that. Your own family, your own blood, threatening you legally for doing exactly what they told you to do. When Tamar Braxton tried to explain herself on camera, you could see the heartbreak behind her voice. She wasn't just angry, she was disappointed. "Which is it?" Toni asked coldly, her tone dripping with condescension, trying to make Tamar look confused, unstable, like she always does. But this time, the internet saw it. They saw the pattern, the gaslighting, the way Toni Braxton twisted the truth right in front of millions, then smiled as if she'd done nothing wrong. Because that's the thing about Toni Braxton. She's mastered the art of quiet control. She doesn't need to scream to cut you down. She just denies, deflects, and watches the world labeled Tamar as crazy. It's been happening for years. Every argument, every outburst, every tear Tamar shed, it all came from the same place. The constant feeling of being ganged up on, misunderstood, betrayed. And when Trina Braxton's face flashed on screen, shocked and speechless, it said everything. Even she couldn't believe Toni had said what Tamar accused her of. Because deep down, everyone knew there was truth to it. The tension wasn't about one comment. It was about years of resentment boiling over, the kind of wounds only family can inflict. What made it worse, Toni Braxton wasn't just lying, she was mocking. When Tamar spoke about her struggles, her mental health, her fears, Toni smirked. That smirk became the breaking point. For Tamar, it wasn't about fame or gossip, it was about survival. She'd spent years fighting for peace, for respect, for her voice to be heard, only to have her own sister weaponize her pain against her. And it didn't stop there. The whispers grew louder behind the scenes. Towanda Braxton, accused of stealing Tamar's credit card, was being quietly protected. Toni allegedly knew the truth, but said nothing. Think about that. Your sister steals from you, and another sister covers it up, then turns around and calls you the problem. For Tamar, the betrayal hit in waves. She started connecting dots that nobody wanted her to see. The cease and desist, the stolen card, the lies about Ashley, the cold laughter, the fake concern, it all added up to one thing. The Braxton image had been polished for TV, but behind that shine was rot, secrets, envy, ego. The same woman the world celebrated for her grace was now being called out for her cruelty. Toni Braxton wasn't holding the family together. She was holding on hostage to her silence. And the worst part, when Tamar cried out, "If you don't care about me, what about my son?" There was no comfort, no apology, just that famed blank stare from a sister who'd already chosen pride over love. What happens when the person you trust most becomes the one who breaks you? When family loyalty turns into emotional warfare? Tamar Braxton was done pretending, done protecting reputations that didn't protect her, because deep down, she knew this wasn't just about a show or a lie or even Ashley. This was about control, about who gets to tell the story. And for once, Tamar refused to let Toni write the ending for her. The cameras caught it all, the shaking voice, the trembling hands, the truth clawing its way to the surface. The moment Toni Braxton realized the world was finally saying what Tamar had been saying all along, and if you look closely, right before the scene cut, you could see it. That flash of guilt in Toni's eyes, the quiet panic of a woman who knew the lie was collapsing. But here's the thing, that was just the beginning, because the next move Toni Braxton made would turn this family feud into something far darker. When the lights dimmed after that confrontation, the Braxton household didn't find peace. It found aftershocks. Because when a lie like that cracks open, it doesn't just echo through the cameras. It shakes the entire family tree. And for Tamar Braxton, the silence that followed wasn't healing, it was haunting. She'd gone home that night still trembling, replaying Toni Braxton's words over and over in her head. That dismissive tone, that smirk that said, "I'm above you." The same sister who once held her hand in the studio now looked at her like an inconvenience. It wasn't just betrayal, it was a humiliation broadcast for the world to see. And yet, what broke Tamar the most wasn't the argument. It was what came next. Because when Tamar tried to reach out privately to explain how much that moment had hurt, Toni didn't listen. She doubled down. Behind closed doors, she allegedly told friends, Tamar's too emotional. She needs help. And then, like wildfire, those words spread. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't about the lie anymore. It was about Tamar's mental health. The same sister who should have protected her was now mocking her, weaponizing her pain. And it hit deeper than anyone could imagine, because the world remembers when Tamar Braxton publicly struggled, when she admitted to feeling broken, misunderstood, and on the edge. To take that vulnerability and turn it into a joke, that's cruelty disguised as concern. And it didn't stop there. The other sisters, Tawanda, Trina, even Evelyn Braxton sat frozen between loyalty and fear. Nobody wanted to confront Toni. Nobody dared, because Toni Braxton isn't just a sister, she's a legend. The Grammy winner, the matriarch of the brand, the one who always acts like she's above the drama. But what the cameras caught was different. It was the cold truth. Toni Braxton wasn't above it. She was a source of it. Meanwhile, Tamar began to see the bigger picture, how her family had turned her truth into entertainment, how her trauma became ratings gold, and how every time she cried, the world labeled her dramatic, but when Toni lied, they called it grace. There's a kind of pain that doesn't show on the surface, the kind that eats you from the inside. That's where Tamar Braxton was, staring at old family photos, remembering a time when they laughed without microphones, when love didn't need contracts or lawyers. But that world was gone, replaced by alliances, group chats, and quiet betrayals. Because let's not forget, Toni Braxton allegedly joined the others to have Tamar serve that cease and desist. It was like being exiled from your own bloodline, a legal letter that said, you are not one of us anymore. And for Tamar, that was a final cut. Yet, even in that pain, she refused to go silent. She took to her podcast, her platform, her voice. And for the first time, she spoke without filter or fear. Family secrets, she said, will kill you before fame ever does. Listeners could hear the ache behind her words, the exhaustion of a woman who'd carried the image of the problem child for too long. But this time, Tamar Braxton wasn't apologizing. She was exposing. And when she mentioned how her address had been leaked, how she feared for her safety, for her son, the internet froze. Because now it wasn't just drama. It was danger. Someone had allegedly given her personal information to outsiders, and she believed it came from within the family. Imagine that, not knowing who to trust under your own roof. Tamar family took sides instantly. Some defended Toni, saying she was just protecting her reputation. Others stood by Tamar, saying she finally found the courage to speak up. But one thing was clear, the Braxton legacy would never look the same again. And then came the cruelest twist of all. In a leaked clip, Toni Braxton was seen joking about medication, laughing about pills, a direct shot at Tamar's past mental health struggles. It was the kind of moment you can't see. The internet erupted. Hashtags flooded timelines. Hashtag Suit the Mar started trending because even in the world of reality TV, there are lines, and mocking her sister's pain is one of them. For Tamar, this wasn't just another public humiliation. It was a final awakening. The moment she realized that peace wasn't going to come from fixing her family, it would come from freeing herself from them. She packed her emotions like she packed her bags, quietly, decisively. The same woman who once begged for love now learned that sometimes survival means walking away. And as for Toni Braxton, she might have won the argument, but she lost something far greater: her sister's trust and the world's sympathy. Because when the truth hit the air, even her poise couldn't save her. Viewers saw the cracks in the unbothered diva. They saw pride, coldness, and guilt. The cameras caught Tamar's final words before she left the set that night. Her voice was shaking, but her message was clear. I'm not crazy. I'm just done pretending. And just like that, she walked away. The sound of her heels echoing down the studio hallway like a heartbeat, fading into silence. Because this wasn't just another Braxton fight. This was the moment Tamar Braxton took her power back, the night she stopped being the villain and became the survivor. And as for Toni Braxton, the internet hasn't forgotten. The lie that broke her sister's heart still hangs over her legacy like a shadow. Because the truth, no matter how long it takes, always finds its voice.